The Islamist group Hamas has freed 2 American hostages, a mother and a daughter, the first known hostage release in the war between it and Israel. Israel's military spokesperson said Judith and Natalie Rana were kidnapped during Hamas's surprise attack on Israel on October 7th, and that they were received on the border by Israeli forces. The International Committee of the Red Cross says it transported them through Gaza. The Hamas attacks in Israel killed 1,400 people. Around 200 were taken as hostages. Hamas says the mother and daughter were released for humanitarian reasons and, quote, to prove to the American people and the world that claims made by Biden and his fascist administration are false. They also say that the hostage release came from negotiations by the government of Qatar. This was U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken.
We expect a team from the U.S. Embassy to see them very shortly. Over the coming hours, they'll receive any support and assistance that they need. The urgent work to free every single American, to free all other hostages, continues, as does our work to secure the safe passage out of Gaza for the Americans who are trapped there. In this particular instance, I want to thank the government of Qatar for their very important assistance.
Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes continue to pound Gaza now 2 weeks after the Hamas attacks and have killed over 4,000 people. Hamas has said about 20 of its hostages were previously killed in airstrikes, without giving details. It also says a further 50 hostages are being held by other militant groups.
הערב שוחררו יהודית טי רענן ונטלי שושנה רענן, אם וביתה מידי ארגון הטרור חמאס, ובשעה זו הם בידי לוחמי צה"ל, כוחות הביטחון, בשטח מדינת ישראל. השתיים נחטפו על ידי ארגון הטרור חמאס במתקפת הפתע הרצחנית בשבת שעברה, עת שהתארחו בקיבוץ נחל עוז. הממונה על החטופים והנעדרים גל הירש, יחד עם צה"ל וכוחות הביטחון, קיבלו אותם לידיהם בגבול הרצועה והן בדרכם לבני המשפחה.
I heard today that some of the girls from the US are on their way home, and I hope that everyone will come home safely, and all the kids from Israel and all the people that have been kidnapped, I hope they come home safe.
We try to uplift the spirits of the people of Tel Aviv, residents that fled the south. We just heard that 2 of the people that have been released, 2 Americans have been released from the Hamas imprisonment. And this is also great news. It's uplifting news. We are all hoping and praying that all of the people that are captive by the Hamas and are getting inhuman treatment will get released as soon as possible.
Mr. President, how was your call with the freed Americans? President, Mr. President Massaudi about to recognize Israel. How is your call with the Freed Americans, Mr. President? How is your call with the Freed Americans? So Israel delayed the ground invasion so you can get more hostages out?
Tonight I'm going to sleep good. I haven't slept good for the last 2 weeks. I spoke with my daughter. She looks good. She feels good. So life is good. She will be 18 next week, so it's the best present. She sounds very, very good, very happy, and she looks good. Just have hope and pray to God. Kiss her and hug her.
Yeah. Breathing a sigh of relief. And we can plan for a party. I was just very happy, and so are all our neighbors. Because when my neighbor first told me, she yelled up on my window, and I opened the window, Judith is gone. Christine just told me Judith is gone. I said, I don't believe it. And then it was true. They just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, right outside of Gaza. And, I'm sure, knowing a couple neighbors, we might have a get-together when she gets home. She was friendly. She was always saying, come over for coffee, do this. She knew everyone in the neighborhood, because if you walk a dog, you know everyone in the neighborhood. And everyone knew her. All her neighbors knew her. I mean, we all knew her. Great. I mean, our whole building has been keeping up and sending emails around. And then when I got on the computer, I turned it on, and the whole building, the emails were going on.
Good. Every person in the world, every person with a moral compass who cares about society and civilization should be outraged at what Hamas did in Israel, a massacre that has not been heard of since the Holocaust. And let's continue to pray for all of the hostages to be returned, and for the families of thousands of people who lost lives in this evil massacre, that they should find comfort and healing, and that we should finally come to a time when we've eradicated evil from this world.
The release of the hostages in Gaza today is a sliver of hope. We are extremely relieved that the families can now be reunited after 2 weeks of agony. We continue to urge for action to protect and alleviate the suffering of all civilians affected by this devastating conflict. As a neutral actor, the ICRC's role was to transport the hostages from Gaza to Israel. We continue to call for the immediate release of all hostages, and we stand ready to help them and their families in any way we can. We also urgently call for a pause in the fighting in Gaza, where the situation is nothing short of desperate. We are ready to work and deliver life-saving humanitarian aid. First responders must be allowed in.